the meeting between two of the great powers. So a lot of optics, but they showed a lot of warmth, and the meeting was quite long. So what do you make of it? What is its significance, and what should we expect in the days and weeks to come after this meeting?
The consequences of this meeting would be quite drastic. They would not probably alter the course of relationship between US and Europe, which is already in a state of decline, but probably will act more as a catalyst for new alignment between the US and the Europe and the rest of the world.
Mr. Trump obviously wants to be seen globally and domestically as a peace builder, as a peacemaker. And he wants one more reason to expect the Nobel Peace Prize.
The deep-seated American establishment desire to do the reverse China effect. Even in this meeting that did not announce any peace agreement or even ceasefire, there is more bad news for Ukraine, led by Zelensky. No matter when this crisis ends, Russia has already been victorious.
The May conflict between India and Pakistan has left a deep, long-term imprint, not just on the security environment, but also the political environment in both countries. With a new episode of V News English and Strathia joint production, The Weekend, I am Muhammad Ali.
And I am Murtaza Solangi.
So, Mr. Solangi, this week was marked by some very important global, regional, and domestic developments. And most recent and significant was definitely the meeting between two of the great powers who are, facing each other on different domains and contesting each other, who have met in Alaska. President Trump and President Putin met in Alaska at a military base. And you must have noticed the optics were also very interesting. Alaska is a US territory. So the Russian president agreed to visit US. Let me put it in that context. It's not just Alaska. President Putin has visited the US territory to meet President Trump on a military base. And you must have noticed that while he was given a red carpet welcome, as is the diplomatic norms, but the red carpet was laced with 4 latest 5th generation F-22 US Air Force fighter jets. And he was also given a fly past by the most lethal strategic bomber B-2, escorted by another 4 F-22 fighter aircraft of the US Air Force. So a lot of optics, but they showed a lot of warmth, and the meeting was quite long. So what do you make of it? What is its significance, and what should we expect in the days and weeks to come after this meeting?
Well, while we are talking about optics, let's not forget that while President Vladimir Putin had to come to US, he chose to come to a place of United States that was physically less than 60 miles away from Russia and Russian territory. And let's not forget that Alaska was actually a Russian um, piece of land or area or territory sold to Americans less than 200 years ago.
Indeed.
So that's something that Russians still feel nostalgic and unhappy about, why uh, Russians sold that to Americans then. But while the optics look like Trump was probably more enthusiastic about the arrival of Putin, his first visit to US after especially the war in Ukraine. But President Trump felt more elated welcoming Vladimir Putin. President Trump was almost over the moon, as they say. But the consequences of this meeting would be quite drastic. They would not probably alter the course of relationship between US and Europe, which is already in a state of decline, but probably will act more as a catalyst for new alignment between the US and the Europe and the rest of the world. So it would have far-reaching consequences. There was no peace agreement, as you saw, but they have agreed to continue the negotiations, and most probably Mr. Trump will continue getting his more than his due share of limelight by those high-profile visits. The one just like happened in Anchorage, Alaska.
Indeed, and let's try to understand the significance of this summit meeting in at three levels: at the global level, at the bilateral level, and also in terms of the Ukraine conflict. I think it was evident from the remarks made by President Trump that he is not expecting immediate breakthrough. But it is very important to carefully distinguish between peace agreement and ceasefire. And I recall the US White House spokesperson was carefully distinguishing and stopping short of a maximalist gain even before the meeting. And she said that the US is only looking for a ceasefire, not a peace agreement. So that is very important. Secondly, you must have noticed that President Trump also mentioned that although he claimed that significant progress has been made, which he did not share with the media, but he said a couple of things are still to be discussed with European countries and Ukrainian leadership. And he does not expect Mr. Zelensky to agree to it. So it is very important that these remarks clearly indicate that when the two great powers talk with each other at the summit level, it's not just one conflict or one country which is their most important consideration. There are at least 5 things which I think must be on the agenda of President Putin, if not for Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump obviously wants to be seen globally and domestically as a peace builder, as a peacemaker. And he wants one more reason to expect the Nobel Peace Prize. But in contrast, there are 5 things which I think must be on the mind of Mr. Putin. Number 1, the expansion of NATO eastwards. Number 2, even if there is a ceasefire, will he settle for Mr. Zelensky as the political leadership of Ukraine. And third is the most unlikely thing, that to expect Russia to give up the territories that it had already captured with a lot of money, blood, and sweat. It will not be politically sellable at home and also within the military ranks, that if we are going to give up on a table what we have achieved on the battlefield after sacrificing billions of dollars and weapons and thousands of lives, then what is in it for Russia? The fourth thing, most important thing on Putin's mind must be the economic embargo and sanctions on the Russian economy. And that is something which I think is an area on which, in return for our military cessation of hostilities, US might show limited flexibility as a relief for securing Russian commitment to not go beyond what it has already captured. And lastly, the nuclear arms treaties and the international global arms control mechanism is at peril right now because of the deficit of trust between Western and alliance NATO and Russia. So I think if I'm sure both leaders must have discussed how to manage this strategic competition, particularly in the nuclear arms, without causing undue risks to their relationship and to the world. So I think there are a lot of areas in which I see possibility of convergence, but Ukraine definitely is not likely to return to peace immediately, or Mr. Zelensky is not likely to expect Mr. Trump to secure complete withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukrainian territory. But what is realistically possible and likely is Mr. Trump's attempt to persuade Mr. Putin to agree to a ceasefire on the basis of status quo, not go beyond what it has already conquered and captured, in return for some limited relief from the US-led sanctions. But I want to ask you, how do you see the significance and potential impact of this meeting and its outcome for India and South Asia? I thought there's a lot of concern in New Delhi that if the current environment of acrimony between Moscow and Washington continues, then India will continue to be the collateral damage.
I'm sure you remember what Scott Bessent had said when he warned Russia and India that if our talks fail with Putin, you will be slapped with secondary or tertiary sanctions, because Russia is bankrolling its war machine with the oil sales. Almost 1/3 of the economic revenues of the Russian government are actually generated through oil sales. And India refines that oil and sells it on a global market. So that would have been a terrible news had this meeting ended in acrimony, just like the one that ended between Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office. Just the opposite. President Trump went all the way by the aircraft where Mr. Putin disembarked off and received him at one end of the red carpet. What we can see is that Mr. Trump is almost overawed by Russia. if you watch what he has been saying recently, he is actually in a state of awe that you are dealing with the president of a country that has the largest territory in the world, has 11 time zones, is rich with oil and gas and rare earth metals. So it's like saliva coming out of somebody's mouth, feeling that the relationship with the Russian Federation is much more important than those European allies United States has been lifting the burden of in terms of security. So this will be a huge blow to even transatlantic relations.
I want to briefly interrupt you because you just made a very profound point that from what you just said, it seems that President Trump considers the Western European allies almost as an economic and security liability.
Correct.
Whereas when he meets Mr. Putin, he sees endless opportunities for US own national interest in terms of energy cooperation, rare earth minerals, developing energy exploration projects in the North Pole with joint cooperation, and so many things. And he perhaps wants to recover from this difficult and costly relationship with Western Europe and perhaps also Arab countries as well.
There's also a secret desire in Trump's mind, and maybe in the minds of many Americans who support Trump, or even those who don't support Trump, the deep-seated American establishment desire to do the reverse China effect. Remember how United States in 70s, with the help of Pakistan, established relations with China and used China against former Soviet Union. And China also took advantage of that by expanding its manufacturing and technological capabilities. So here, there is also a secret desire that, okay, we tried India to, put them up as a bulwark against China. They are so pathetic that they couldn't even compete with Pakistan. That
so
what we
let me again, I think, butt in and try to expand on another very important point that you made. Does it mean that in the US strategic calculus, after having failed to prop up India as a bulwark against China, the plan B, instead of raising a military alliance through Quad and India to contain China militarily, the plan B is to isolate China economically and militarily and in terms of energy cooperation from Moscow by luring Mr. Putin through some incentives in return for ceasefire in Ukraine. That seems to be the plan B, I think.
I agree with your assumptions, but let's not forget that the Russian bear, they are not laymen, or they are not too naive not to understand this. They have a great understanding of history. So knowing Mr. Putin and knowing Sergei Viktorovich Lavrov, they would very much want to get their pound of flesh, and they already have. What has Trump got out of this Anchorage meeting? Trump has only got headlines and limelight. Putin has got more. That much maligned Russia that was seen as an aggressor who invaded a small neighbor and killed thousands of people gets a red carpet welcome and tremendous opportunities of sanctions being lifted and economic cooperation coming out of this very lonely area. There is too much victory for Russia. Even in this meeting that did not announce any peace agreement or even ceasefire, there is more bad news for Ukraine, led by Zelensky. No matter when this crisis ends, Russia has already been victorious.
And not to mention, this meeting itself at the bilateral level would deepen the insecurity in Western Europe and erode whatever hopes Mr. Zelensky has of sustainable US military assistance to continue the war effort against Russia. I think these two gains are in itself quite significant for Moscow.
NATO would be just a formal alliance with no teeth, because US would not be behind it and Europeans would not trust US going forward. So they would have to create their own security framework, maybe reconfigure their security relationship even with Russia without telling Americans.
And I think already there is talk of Germany and Britain building military cooperation yesterday. And I think there is a greater...
France
yes.
will join it and others. So Europeans would have to fend for themselves.
Indeed. Now, I want your brief comment on how New Delhi is looking at this meeting.
They were quite nervous, but they feel happy that the meeting between Putin and Trump didn't end in a brawl. So probably they feel a temporary relief, but that's very temporary. The basis of India-US relationship led by previous administration is dead.
Indeed. Now let's come to another very important topic, which I think is beyond borders and beyond foreign policy and defense policy. That is climate change and its huge impact on the world, including South Asia, including Europe, including the US as well. So your thought on that?
Well, climate change or climate emergency is a reality. You have seen it yesterday in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa with 307 people dead, so many hundreds of houses demolished, infrastructure destroyed. We saw that in India recently, in Uttarakhand, in Arunachal Pradesh, in Indian illegally occupied Kashmir, Kishtwar. This is a reality. This is the time where people who have to think about future generations think about this even acrimony between India and Pakistan, and where this Hindutva mobocracy is leading this region too. There is a great need of, lowering the tensions, adopting peaceful means, and diverting all those resources for the real danger of the climate emergency. Because in next years and decades, especially for our region, the real problem would not be the lack of water, but huge body of water uh, raining and floods and these flash floods and cloudbursts, how we would deal with this huge body of water. Both Pakistan and India have to think about it. These silly shenanigans of trying to mimic Golden Dome and Iron Dome won't take India anywhere.
A last thought on this very important topic. I think there's greater need in the leading international political, diplomatic, and economic forums to consider the huge impact for the quality of life, for the wealth, for the health, and for the survival of billions of people around the world. I think international financial institutions like IMF and World Bank must develop some measures and mechanism to provide relief to the worst affected countries from this global challenge of climate change. And I think the UN must also play a more active role in trying to build together a mechanism that how the world can share its knowledge, experience, resources to help the humanity, to save the humanity from the huge impact of climate change beyond ethnic, linguistic, and political lines. But I think that's just a hope. I hope people will consider this. And now let's come to South Asia. Some major events took place in the last week. India and Pakistan celebrated their Independence Day, but in somewhat contrasting manner. I want you to comment on that why Pakistan views 14th August in a totally different manner from the Indian leadership.
Well, when Pakistan celebrated 78th Independence Day, it was an Independence Day plus, because it was not just the celebration of independence, but also the celebration of the recent victory where Pakistan defeated India in its nefarious aggressive designs when they attacked Pakistan on a flimsy pretext of Pahalgam without any evidence and attacked Pakistan's civilian population on May 5 and 6. And the retaliation when Pakistan on the same night downed more than 6 major fighter jets of India plus a large unmanned vehicle, aerial vehicle, but also the retaliation on May 10. So Pakistan had a lot to celebrate. Pakistan, before this conflict, was more polarized, and the faith of many quarters in Pakistan was at all-time low. Just the opposite has happened. Same in India, it's just the opposite. India is in a state of disarray. I'm sure you have seen what Umar Abdullah said yesterday. He is too disappointed that even a small token of concession, of restoration of statehood, even minus 370 and 35A was not done. So he was visibly disappointed. Congress is aggressive, and Modi and BJP are in a state of shock. So that's why they announced, they gave a lollipop to Indians of this Sudarshan Chakra yesterday, that, oh, by 10 years, we will copy this Golden Dome and Iron Dome. So India is in a different mode on the same Independence Day when he made this long babbling 103 minutes speech, where just like fascist leaders, he raised the flag of danger. Oh, Indians, Hindus are being reduced into a minority, the demographic threat. When you and I know that 80% population, almost 1 billion people are Hindus, and only 20% are minorities, further fragmented between Muslims and Christians and Buddhists and other minorities. And they are raising this flag of danger of demographic changes while they are engineering the same demographic changes in illegally occupied Kashmir, where a tiny state of Kashmir with very little population, the only state in the union that had Muslim majority, is not acceptable to Hindutva mobocracy. So these were two different environments in which this 78th independence anniversary was celebrated in both countries.
Indeed, and if I can briefly add two more points, I think I agree with your contrasting analysis, but I think the May conflict between India and Pakistan has left a deep long-term imprint, not just on the security environment, but also the political environment in both countries. I think if I may say, I agree with your interpretation of Pakistan's Independence Day as Independence Day plus. And the plus factor is based on Pakistan's joy and pride at the successful defense of its independence. That's why it was Independence Day plus. And secondly, Pakistan has improved its international status, its international image diplomatically. Pakistan, as you rightly pointed out, has galvanized its society and nation politically, which was earlier fragmented. It has, it continues to rise every week. Pakistan's stock exchange is setting all new marks of stock exchange records are being set every week on a regular basis in the last 2-3 months. And in terms of security, I think Pakistani nation, beyond political lines, is proud of the military victory that Pakistani armed forces has achieved, which has improved our civil military relations as well. In contrast, in India, I think the Indian military leadership is also defensive and trying to cook up new explanations and stories of their debacle 3 months ago. And the government is constantly under fire from astute diplomats, from military strategic thinkers, and from political opposition on a daily basis. Their economy is also reeling after a very painful and punishing 50% tariff imposed by the US. Their relationship based on strategic partnership with Washington is perhaps under peril, if not completely gone. And I think internationally, from an emerging great power, its image and status has been cut to size as a South Asian middle power. Thank you, Mr. Solangi, for sharing your very insightful analysis of the most recent and significant developments at the global level, at the regional level, and also comparing how Independence Day was celebrated in a contrasting manner across India and Pakistan. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed watching today's program. Don't forget to share your feedback and comments, and keep watching it for more such informative analysis in the upcoming episodes in future. Thank you.